Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Unpacking real-time channel. In the vibrant port city of Busan, South Korea, a summit has just taken place. On the surface, it might seem like a relatively routine diplomatic event. But if we look deeper, we find profound layers of geopolitical significance. This was the meeting between Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung. It was likely Mr. Ishiba's final handshake as head of government, a symbolic farewell. For decades, the relationship between Seoul and Tokyo has been a complex equation, a tug-of-war between shared economic interests and historical scars that never fully heal. So why, at this particular moment, are these two former adversaries showing such a strong move toward rapprochement? What does the handshake in Busan truly signify? And most importantly, as two key U.S. allies in East Asia clasp hands, another major question arises. Is this a signal to China? Is a strategic encirclement gradually closing in? In today's analysis, we won't just recount the events. We will peel back the layers of meaning behind the Japan-South Korea summit together. What are the real driving forces, and how will the geopolitical chessboard in the Asia-Pacific change after this meeting? Part 1. The Busan Summit, more than just a farewell. First, let's look at what happened. The meeting on Tuesday, September 30, 2025, carried a special atmosphere. For Prime Minister Ishiba, it was the final leg of his diplomatic career as Prime Minister, following his ruling coalition's defeat in the election. He emphasized the profound significance of ending his term with a meeting with his South Korean counterpart. On President Lee Jae-myung's side, he expressed hope for a future where the two countries grow closer emotionally. This is a significant statement, showing an effort to overcome long-standing psychological barriers. The joint statement after the meeting focused on less controversial yet highly practical issues: cooperation on tackling low birth rates, rural revitalization, and disaster prevention. Both sides also reaffirmed their shared commitment to the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. These are points of easy consensus. But the most noteworthy part lies in the thornier issues. Prime Minister Ishiba directly addressed the past, stressing the need for sincerity and courage when facing history. This is an important acknowledgement. While not a formal apology, it opens up space for dialogue and reconciliation. It shows that despite the difficulties, both sides realize they cannot let the past forever hinder the future. Part 2. Why now? A convergence of pressures. The most important question is, why is this thaw in Japan-South Korea relations happening so strongly right now? The answer lies not in sentiment, but in geopolitical and economic pressures that can no longer be ignored. Three main drivers are pushing these two nations together. First driver, the existential threat from North Korea. This is the most obvious catalyst. In recent years, Pyongyang's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs have made significant advances. Test launches have become more frequent with ever-increasing ranges. For Seoul and Tokyo, this is not a distant geopolitical issue. It is an existential threat right on their doorstep. When faced with an unpredictable and increasingly dangerous neighbor, historical disagreements suddenly seem smaller. National security becomes the top priority, and intelligence and military cooperation between Japan and South Korea is no longer an option, but a necessity. Second driver, the economic storm and supply chains. The global trade order is being rewritten. The US-China strategic competition has created a more fragmented economic world. The concept of friendshoring, moving supply chains that allied nations, is becoming a dominant trend. Both Japan and South Korea are technology and manufacturing giants. They are at the heart of the global supply chain, especially in semiconductors, batteries, and displays. They realize that in this new environment, confronting each other only weakens them both and makes them vulnerable to external shocks. Cooperating to build a resilient, secure supply chain is a path to economic survival. Third driver, the role of Washington. We cannot overlook the role of their biggest ally, the United States. For years, Washington has consistently pushed for a trilateral US-Japan-South Korea cooperation mechanism. A warmer relationship between Tokyo and Seoul creates a much stronger alliance in Northeast Asia, helping the US deal more effectively with regional challenges. The pressure and encouragement from Washington are a significant factor, creating a favorable environment for the two leaders to overcome domestic political hurdles and move toward cooperation. Part 3. The impact on China, strategic encirclement or a loose alliance. Now we come to the core question: how does the handshake in Busan affect China? From Beijing's perspective, the answer is very clear. They undoubtedly see this as a negative development, another step in what they call America's strategy of containment and encirclement. A strong US-Japan-South Korea alliance is a scenario that China has always sought to avoid. When three of the region's top economies and militaries enhance their cooperation, it creates a significant strategic counterweight to China's influence. So, is a US-South Korea-Japan-Taiwan alliance forming to encircle China? This is an assessment that needs careful consideration. The US-South Korea-Japan axis, this connection is real and is becoming increasingly formalized. Joint military exercises, intelligence sharing, and economic security cooperation are growing stronger. The main goal is to deter North Korea, but undeniably, it also creates a more unified front in dealing with China's actions in the region. Adding the Taiwan factor? This is the more complex part. Currently, there is no formal four-party military alliance. However, what we are seeing is a convergence of strategic interests. Both Japan and South Korea understand that the stability of the Taiwan Strait is vital to their own security and economy. Critical maritime trade routes pass through this area. Any conflict in Taiwan would have catastrophic consequences for the entire region. Therefore, instead of calling it a formal military encirclement, it is perhaps more accurate to call it the formation of a deterrence network. The links in the chain are gradually connecting. While there is no mutual defense treaty, all parties share a common goal: to maintain the status quo and prevent any unilateral actions that could cause instability. From Beijing's perspective, even if it's not a NATO-style alliance, its impact is not much different. Conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, the summit in Busan was not just a ceremonial event. It is a critical indicator of a profound strategic realignment taking place in Northeast Asia. The handshake between Prime Minister Ishiba and President Lee did not come from them resolving the hatreds of the past. It came from the recognition that the challenges of the present and the future are far greater. This is a marriage based on pragmatic calculations, driven by shared threats. The future of this relationship will depend on whether the external pressures remain strong enough to help them overcome deep-rooted historical mistrust. But one thing is certain: the security and economic order in Asia is changing, and the handshake in Busan is one of the latest chapters in that story. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Unpacking Real-Time channel. Hello, and see you again.